Today on the TriDot Triathlon Show, Mike Reilly shares his top 10 lessons learned from the Ironman finish line. We recently had Mike, the voice of Ironman, on our podcast, and everything he shared is so good that we decided to give you a quick recap here on YouTube. I'm Vanessa, your average triathlete with elite level enthusiasm, excited as ever to be bringing you what Mike Reilly has learned as he shares stories and inspiration from calling almost 500,000 athletes across the finish line. Here's what he had to say on the TriDot podcast.
Let's get to our 10 tips from Mike Reilly. Now, Mike is going to share a nugget of wisdom he has learned from the races, and then the three of us will chat and reflect on what he shared. So let's do it, Mike. What is lesson number 1 from the races?
Well, when I put these down and I thought about them, they were really in no particular order, but then I did move them around a little bit. But the first one, on race day, always remember and embrace your why. Why you're stepping into that water, why you're jumping on the bike, and why you're running. Don't discount that. You made a decision to do a hard thing, to swim, bike, and run. So that decision always has to be at the forefront for you. You embrace it on race day because times are going to get tough. And that's when you embrace your why. This is why I'm out here. Whether it's for yourself, for someone else, we all have our varied reasons of why we're on that race course, but embrace it every step of the way.
Great stuff there, Mike. Lesson number 1. What is your lesson number 2?
A lot of athletes have heard me say this as they're getting into the water and before that cannon goes off. There's a lot of things out of your control on race day. The wind, heat, rain, somebody bumping into you, volunteer not getting you that drink you want. They're not in your control, and you can't worry about them. There's one thing in your control on race day, that's your attitude. If you keep that positive, it will get you to the finish line, and you'll forget about all the other things you don't have control over. So control your attitude, keep it positive, and it will get you to the finish line no matter what else happens on race day.
I'm really hoping to embody that positivity. I know when I did my first half, as soon as I had made that mental switch from completing a race to having fun while doing the race, it just made a huge difference in my outlook throughout the entire race. And so it's something that I'm reminding myself of now as I'm mentally preparing for the event in October, is to, just think of the positives and think about how exciting it's going to be and focus on that excitement as opposed to getting nervous about it. I really appreciate that.
As we move on to lesson number 3, what do you have for us here, Mike?
Well, Vanessa just mentioned it too. When you do control your attitude and not worry about those things around you, my lesson number 3 is have fun. I actually had an athlete, after I said the attitude thing, some have come up to me and go, you know what, Mike? You said that to me and the rain came and I laughed at the rain. I'm just, I don't have control over it. So it's raining. What the heck? So you just have to have that attitude to where, you know what, I'm going to go out there and have fun. There are a lot of people in the world that can't do what you're doing that
Absolutely.
day. They don't have the opportunity. They don't have the physical ability. They don't have the mental ability. You got through all those things. So you go out there and have fun. You're just a big kid out there on a 40.6 mile playground, and it's all yours. So play in the sand, swing on the swings. That's how you have to look at it. Have fun all day long. And then you come to that finish line, no matter how much you're hurting, you'll be smiling.
That is definitely something that I notice whenever I go to a finish line, is the look on people's faces. It is so inspiring. It's invigorating. It's just something that you don't see in one place very often, for that consistent amount of time. And it's just something that I would truly hope that everyone gets to witness, because it makes you recognize that anything is truly possible.
What are we at? Number 4?
We're on number 4. Yes, sir.
Well, number 4 really is started with number 3. Don't be so serious. I see people out there that they're racing and they've got this look on their face like, don't step in front of me or I'm going to knock you down.
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta get off the bike at this time. I've got to do this. That just sucks energy from you, like you said, Andrew, like crazy. So don't be so serious. There's really nothing to expand on that. And sure, the pros are in a serious business. They're trying to produce their income. They're trying to win the race. That's a serious business. But I know a lot of professional athletes that have come through that finish line in first on both the men and the women's side, and they raced with reckless abandon, and they weren't serious about it. They just went out and did what they love to do. So it goes through all ranks. There are pros and the age groupers. Just don't be so doggone serious.
I love that.
Mike Reilly, what is lesson number 5 from the races?
Never be disappointed with a finish.
Oh, that's so good.
If you finished what you started, which is one of the biggest lessons in life we can teach our children, we teach each other. Never be disappointed with a finish. I don't care what your time was. If you went an hour slower than you went before, if you missed your goal, if you missed everything on race day, but you came across that finish line, you are a winner, you are a champion, you are someone who inspires others because you did finish. So don't be disappointed when you finish or with a finish of anything. I mean, even if you handed in a college term paper and you finished it, but you got a C. I got a C. What the heck? I finished it. A lot of people don't finish what they start. So never be disappointed with a finish.
Mike Reilly, lesson number 6. What do we got?
Well, even though we have some of the best coaches in the world in our sport now, we've learned so many things over the years. This lesson is one that's been taught over and over and over again, but people still abuse it, for a lack of a better word. Don't do anything different on race day. And what I mean by that is if you trained with this nutrition, if you trained on this bike, if you ran in these shoes, don't be buying a new pair of running shoes 2 days before the race and run in them. But people do. They do. They figure they want that added edge. So they do something different than what they did through their entire 6, 8 months, however long training was for the race. They do something different, and it can beat up their day. So don't do anything different on race day, even though somebody tells you 3 days before the race, hey, if you take this, you'll have a lot more energy on the swim. What, are you kidding me? You've never taken it before and you're going to take it again? I don't care if it's the simplest powder of Gatorade, of a flavor you have never drank before. Just stick with what you do and don't do anything different on race.
You know, I had an athlete that I was coaching. He was doing his first sprint race, and in the bag that you get at registration, there were some samples, and he pulled out one of the samples and he's like, this is going to be great for race day. So he took it, he ate the sample right before his race, and he didn't even read the label, and it was not a gel, it was a sample of shampoo. And so,
You gotta be
ate shampoo.
Okay, that's a first. I got a first. That's a first. I never heard that before.
So the whole race, he was like, the shampoo was just coming up, and he was like burping bubbles, and it was like his stomach was just, turning around, and we were laughing so hard about it. And I said to him, I'm like, did you not hear? Like, you never do anything new on race day, and that includes eating shampoo.
Moving on to lesson number 7 from Mike Reilly at the races.
Well, we all know our sport is built on 3 beautiful disciplines: swim, bike, and run. But on race day, the most important discipline is the fourth one, nutrition. And that can't be discounted. And if you trained with proper nutrition, you got to know on race day, that is your fourth discipline. You stress about the swim. You stress, I've got to do this on the bike. I've got to do this on the run. And you get your nutrition in when you're training. But on race day, it is number 4. And sometimes it should be like number 2 or 3. So nutrition is the fourth discipline on race day. Don't ever forget that, and make sure you take care of it.
Mike Reilly, I think we're on lesson number 8 now, correct? Lesson number 8?
Yes, we are. So there's no doubt you're going to be hurting on race day. You're going to go through tough patches. You're going to kind of doubt yourself. You're going to be running and feel like you got a couple lead weights on your ankles. So when you're hurting, I tell people you want to disassociate a little bit. You want to assess your body and everything's okay. But when you're hurting, think of your loved ones. Think of the ones that help you get there. Think of your partners, your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, whomever it may be. Because when you think about ones that love you, you start thinking about cool memories pop into your head. And before you know it, you're 4 or 5 miles down the road. But a funny story to this, I was being interviewed at a race one time, and somebody asked me for advice on race day, and this just popped into my head. Thank your loved ones when you're hurting out there. So I had a guy come up to me after the race. He goes, "Thanks, Reilly." I go, "What?" He goes, "I had a great day. I was hurting, but I started thinking about my kids and my wife."
Wow.
And I started crying. I'm bawling like a baby running on the course. Guys came up to me, "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. I was thinking of my loved ones." And one guy said, "Oh, you must have listened to Reilly." So, but it does. You're an individual out there, and you've done almost everything on your own, but you haven't. Your loved ones have supported you and been behind you. So when you think of them, I think they're going to help you get through those rough patches on race day.
Yeah, for me, it always manifests in 2 ways. And the first way, at Ironman specifically, my wife told me going into that day, she was like, she said, "I cannot see you bonk. Like, I can't see you be one of those people that gets pulled off the course because you're just absolutely just demolished." And so in the back of my head, like, no matter how tough it got, like, okay, keep fueling, keep trucking, keep pacing correctly, because you promised Morgan you would not be one of those people that bonked along the way. The other way this manifests for me at any distance race I do, ever since I joined the TriDot family, I know when I do a race that there's just people in the TriDot community tracking me on the Tracker app, whether it's a Clash Endurance race or a Challenge Family race or an Ironman race. You can usually track your favorite athletes. And anytime my bike wheels, my feet, when I go over a timing mat of any kind, I think of the TriDot family, and I think of the people that I know are tracking me and rooting for me. And it's like, yes, they just got an update on how I'm doing. And I think of them in those moments, and it really just pushes me on to that next timing mat. A little bit of a wardrobe change here, Mike. You've been wearing a San Diego Padres hat. You've been wearing a TriDot Triathlon Show long sleeve T-shirt, and you've now switched to a TriDot beanie, and then you took that off and switched to a TriDot Ambassador hat. So I'm curious, did the wardrobe change have anything to do with what lesson number 9 is?
No, not really. I don't know what I was doing. I'm just okay. I got all the stuff laying around my desk here, so I'll put this on. I'll put this on. You know? It's all about feeling comfortable. You know that.
Yeah.
No, number 9. I say this at I said this at every welcome ceremony for as long as I can remember, because we're out there all day long on the race course, and you need support, and you know where that support comes from. It comes from people giving you their most valuable possession, their time. It's the volunteers. So I tell everyone, thank as many volunteers as possible on race day. Look them in the eye and tell them thank you. And if you do that, it'll bring energy back to you, because you're going to make their day. Here they are there for you, and you reverse it. Thank you very much for the gel. Thank you. Oh my gosh. And you just don't know. And especially because we have a lot of young adults out there and children out there handing things. Could you imagine if they hand something to a Jan Frodeno and he says thanks to a 9-year-old? That's forever.
Yeah.
Well, you're forever when you think a volunteer. It's forever for them. So don't discount that. Think as many volunteers as possible, and it'll bring you energy to help you get to that finish line.
Closing it down, we've got one more lesson from Mike Reilly, all the things he's learned in his years at the races. What is lesson number 10?
Excuses are invalid. You, on race day, a lot of things will start popping into your head in a negative vein. And, you know, we don't live in the most positive of world at all times, whether you're watching the news, reading the paper, listening to anybody else, and people want to bitch and moan about things. And usually that stems from excuses in their lives of why they didn't do this, why they didn't do that. On race day, if anything comes in, well, you know, it's a little cold out here. Maybe I'll stop at the next aid station. I'll think about quitting or what. Forget it. Excuses are invalid. There are no excuses on race day. And there should be no excuses in life. But we use them. We use them as crutches. And we're all guilty of that. I've used excuses. You know, I don't want to do this because of this, whatever. But on race day, man, you got to live by that. Because if you don't, you're not going to see that finish line.
I hope you enjoyed all that Mike Reilly goodness. It was an amazing experience to be talking to someone who has impacted so many lives in such a positive way. My favorite lesson is embrace your why. This is super important because when the going gets tough, you can remind yourself why you do what you do, and you will most definitely find a way to overcome the challenge and carry on. So for this YouTube show, we pieced together the highlights of Mike's 10 tips. But if you want to hear the entire discussion and what Mike had to say about all of these lessons that he shared, make sure to go and listen to the full podcast episode with Mike, Andrew, and me, of course. Thanks for watching. Remember to give us a like, subscribe, and in the comments today, I am challenging you to write your why. Why are you a triathlete? Why do you put in all of this hard work? Why do you keep signing up for all the crazy races? I'd love to hear what you have to say, so drop it in the comments and we'll see you next time.